J-Bone here, and it is time to recap and review the 2023 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. As always, we are going to start off with everybody's favorite summarization. Here is the 2023 Azerbaijan Grand Prix in 60 seconds. Charles Leclerc reminded us all that he's arguably the best qualifier in Formula One by starting the Grand Prix in pole position, but then Red Bull reminded us they have inarguably the fastest car on the grid when Max and Checo both passed Leclerc within the first 6 laps. On lap 10 of 51, AlphaTauri's Nick De Vries clipped a wall and then skidded off into the sunset, which brought out a safety car that really hurt Max Verstappen, who had just pitted. For the rest of the race, Checo and Max were so far ahead of everyone else that they both got bored and just decided to play a game of who can run into the wall more. The podium ended up Checo, Max, Leclerc, though Alonso came this close to the podium. Leclerc and Max actually stood in the wrong spots on the podium, which was hilarious. And in other news, Aston Martin teammates Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll kept whispering sweet nothings to each other via team radio the entire race, and it was pretty cute. And when Ocon finally made a pit stop, he narrowly avoided hitting a bunch of random bystanders who had made their way into the pit lane at the end of the race because nothing is sacred anymore. Now, let's dive into all that in a bit more detail. But first, let's check in with producer Jeff, who was on the ground in Baku, Azerbaijan for this Grand Prix weekend. Producer Jeff, radio check.
Loud and clear, J-Bone.
All right, Jeff, I gotta know, what was it like to attend the Azerbaijan Grand Prix?
It was great. I had a great time, honestly. The cars are just amazing.
What was your favorite part of the race weekend?
Oh, there's so many parts that were just the best.
Are you in a nightclub right now? Did you even go to the race?
Yeah, obviously, I'm in Baku. Danke, Peter.
Are you speaking German? You don't even know German.
Prost.
Oh my god. If this is how Baku went, I don't even want to know what's going to happen in Miami this weekend. Jeez. In my Azerbaijan Grand Preview, I gave you 4 storylines to follow for the 2023 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Let's see how those shaped up. The first storyline to follow was about how F1 Sprint was back and had a new look for the 2023 season. And the new Formula One Sprint format is not off to a good start. Williams' Alex Albon said it best when, after the sprint race, he said the new format stinks because, quote, top 8 are the top 4 teams. It's boring. And I tend to agree with Albon. It makes sense that the top 8 would be the top 4 teams if the point of the sprint race was also to set the grid for the Grand Prix like it used to be. But if you're going to make the sprint be a standalone event, it needs to have more entertainment value than just being a preview of the next day's race. I think the best way to fix this is by either making the sprint race's grid be a reverse qualifying or reverse championship grid, or by changing the sprint shootout from a 3-round qualifying session that determines the grid for the sprint race to a single lap shootout, or to Tomo's idea of a 2-round qualifying event with the second round being a single lap shootout where each car is focused on individually, so every F1 fan gets to see every driver take a lap around the circuit during sprint weekends. Your second storyline to follow was, is Max Verstappen about to make history at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix? And I'm just going to combine that storyline with another of my storylines, which was, does Checo Perez have what it takes to beat his Red Bull teammate Max Verstappen at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix? I'd like to make an announcement. Checo Perez is now Formula One's undisputed street circuit king. Formula One's true street circuits are Jeddah, Baku, Monaco, Singapore, and Vegas, and Checo has won at all of those places within the last year, except Las Vegas, which has never been raced on before, but surely Checo will win there later this year because he runs the streets. Some pea-brained people out there will say that Checo only won in Baku because Max got screwed over by the De Vries safety car, but first off, we don't know that Checo would not have won the race anyways, and second, that was just karma paying Checo back for that safety car at Jeddah, ruining what would have been another street circuit win for him in Saudi Arabia last season. Checo Perez has just cemented his street circuit dominance, making history by becoming the first driver to ever win twice at Baku and proving himself to be a legitimate 2023 championship contender. Checo! On a related note, I have a new Formula One conspiracy theory. I think it's possible that Red Bull knew Checo Perez was going to eventually overtake Max on track in Baku because he's a street circuit legend, so they decided to save Max the embarrassment and ego hit of getting passed by Checo on track by pitting Max intentionally too early so that after the race, they would have a built-in excuse for why he lost to Checo. I'm just saying. Whether you like that conspiracy theory or not, you should like this video right now so that the algorithms like J-Bone more, and you should also leave a comment with your thoughts on that conspiracy theory so that I like you more. J-Bone! Your final storyline to follow was, did Ferrari have the greatest April Fool's joke of all time, or was that Australian Grand Prix performance not a joke? And that Charles Leclerc pole position in Baku tells me that all the shenanigans that Ferrari pulled in Australia were, in fact, April Fool's jokes. So good one, Ferrari. You crushed that. And congrats on getting your first podium of the season. Now, speaking of that Charles Leclerc pole position, get a load of this Formula One fact. With his win in Baku, where Checo Perez won the race from P2 with Charles Leclerc in front of him in pole position, Checo now has as many wins in his career from Charles Leclerc pole positions as Charles Leclerc. And not only that, but 4 of Checo's 6 wins, or 66.66%, repeating of course, have come from Charles Leclerc pole positions. So next time you see Charles Leclerc top qualifying, you know who to watch out for. It's Checo, but it's also Max, who actually has more wins from Charles Leclerc pole positions than Charles Leclerc. Mamma mia.
Hey J-Bone, box for ad read.
Hey you. Yeah, you. I need to let you in on a little secret. Unless your legs are currently surrounded by a pair of bird dogs, you are not living your best life. My sponsor, Bird Dogs, makes the best shorts and pants you will ever try on, and I am not just saying that because they are paying me to. I, J-Bone, legitimately wear Bird Dogs at least 4 days per week because they look great, feel even better, and because I can do literally anything in them. I can just hang out, I can go bike, I can golf, I can work out, I can go on a road trip. You can even swim in them. They've replaced all of my bathing suits. Look, I'm wearing a pair of Bird Dogs right now. Aren't they beautiful? They look amazing. My favorite thing about Bird Dogs is that they come with a super soft built-in liner that actually eliminates the need to wear underwear, which I think is the greatest invention of all time because it cuts down on both laundry and discomfort. Seriously, you need to try on a pair of Bird Dogs. They are so comfortable. I mean it when I say you will not regret picking up a pair of Bird Dogs, and for being a Formula Bone fan, I've got a special offer for you. Click the Bird Dogs link I've placed in the description below to go to birddogs.com, and when you enter promo code FBONE at checkout, that's FBONE, Bird Dogs will throw in a free Yeti-style tumbler with every order. This tumbler is not only remarkable, it's also free with your order when you use code FBONE on birddogs.com, so get after it. B-Dogs! Next up, something happened in Formula 2 this past weekend that's never happened before. Formula 2, or F2, is Formula 1's main feeder series, with many drivers on the grid having passed through it on their way to Formula 1. Formula 2 raced in Baku alongside Formula 1 this past weekend, and history was made when 17-year-old Prima racing driver Oliver Bearman became the first Formula 2 driver to ever top all 4 Formula 2 sessions, which were practice, qualifying, the sprint race, and the feature race. And since I know you're now wondering about what Formula 1 team Oliver Bearman might end up on eventually, you should know that he is a member of the Ferrari Driver Academy. So all hope is not lost, Ferrari fans. Remember the name, Oliver Bearman. Next up, here's how my 3 bona fide race predictions fared at the 2023 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Oh no. My first race prediction was that American driver Logan Sargent would finish in the points for the first time in his Formula 1 career in Baku. And while Logan did make it into Q2 for the first time in his Formula 1 career, which I could have predicted if I wasn't trying as hard, unfortunately, he finished the race P16, which, in case you aren't familiar, is not in the points. My second race prediction was that Yuki Tsunoda would finish in the points, and ding ding, J-Bone got that one right. J-Bone! Yuki worked his Baku magic and slid into the final points position at P10 to make J-Bone right. My third race prediction was that Fernando Alonso would finish on the podium again, but this time higher up than P3. And while Fernando Alonso was less than a second from finishing on the podium, unfortunately, I underestimated both Checo and Charles Leclerc, which are two mistakes I will not be making again. Trust me. You see, even though I only went 1 for 3, I did learn some good lessons, and some would say that knowledge is even more valuable and meaningful than being correct. I know I'd say that. But don't you worry, folks, because if you are somebody who likes correctness, I'm going to go 3 for 3 with my Miami Grand Prix predictions. I promise, get ready for them. They're coming later this week. J-Bone! Now, you also may remember that I predicted the Azerbaijan Grand Prix's top 5 finishers. My predictions there were as follows. P5, Lance Stroll. P4, Lewis Hamilton. P3, Checo Perez. P2, Fernando Alonso. P1, Max Verstappen. And how that ended up is that my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 guess was, in reality, a 7, 6, 1, 4, 2. Meaning I laid a big old goose egg there. Not good. Not good. A truly shameful week for me in the prediction correctness department, and I apologize for my inadequacies, but again, lessons learned, but still, pain. And by the way, speaking of pain, you can pick up this Pain F1 team hat and mug and a bunch of other Formula Bone merch like this DRS chicken shirt and this Formula Bone coffee mug that's somewhere on my set. I don't know where it is. Link in the description, folks. J-Bone! Next up, it's time to respond to some Azerbaijan Grand Prix themed voicemails left on the Bone Phone. If you want your voicemail featured on the Bone Phone, simply call 1-833-200-0966 and leave a message, or head to the Formula Bone Discord and submit a voice memo in the Bone Phone Submissions channel. A Discord invite link is in the description of this video. You should join even if you don't plan on submitting a call, because my Discord is tight and fun, and it's a great community there. Here's the first call.
Hey J-Bone, regarding Ocon's pit stop at the last lap of the race, who do you think is to blame for all the chaos that happened? Is it the photographers for not knowing that the race isn't over yet? Is it the FIA for letting the photographers in? Or is it Alpine for not pitting Ocon before the last lap?
In case you missed it, absolute chaos took place on the last lap of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Esteban Ocon never pitted during the race as he was holding out for a safety car that never came, so in order to avoid being disqualified, he had to pit just before his final lap. However, people in the pit lane didn't know that a driver was going to come in for a last lap pit stop, so they had already begun to set up barriers and congregate in the pit lane in preparation for the post-race festivities. This resulted in these scary scenes where a Formula One car is barreling toward a crowd of spectators, which is not a great look. The FIA looked into this mess after the race, which resulted in them summoning themselves to the steward's room, if you can believe that. In their final report, the FIA just deflected and seemed to blame it on the rarity of a last lap pit stop, while pretty much ignoring the fact that there was very clearly a massive lapse in their own communication that should never have existed. Classic FIA. The FIA said they were taking steps so it wouldn't happen again, which I'll believe when I see. Next call.
Hi, Jason. This is Yara from Georgia. There's been a lot of rumors about Charles Leclerc replacing Hamilton at Mercedes, and somebody saying like it's an open secret. And I was just wondering what your thoughts are on whether there's any truth to those rumors or if they're just, rumors. J-Bone.
Hey, you know me. I'm not the type of guy to speculate or comment on rumors. But if I were, I'd say Charles Leclerc is 100% going to leave Ferrari when his contract expires at the end of the 2024 season, unless Ferrari are able to turn things around pretty fast here. And that if Lewis does decide to retire after next season, it's 100% going to be Leclerc who replaces Lewis at Mercedes. Next call.
J-Bone, how you doing? It's Joe from New York. I'm back. Hey, look, I got this letter in the mail today. Let me read it for you. To our fans, Baku hurt. As you know, we at Red Bull are determined to provide our fans with the most competitive racing possible. and in this pursuit, we have failed. We know that as fans, you want to see us battling for the podium, but unfortunately, it hasn't been much of a battle at all. We know that you expect better. We are committed to making the other teams feel like they have a chance. We are determined to find a way to cut down the gap between us and the other teams to at least 20 seconds. Furthermore, it will now be a team policy to give a friendly wave to your competitor as you easily pass them using DRS to limit their humiliation. We will continue to hold our heads up high. We know that with the right amount of safety cars, we can make these races close again. We at Red Bull Racing are fans of the sport, and we hate to see a boring race on account of Max and Checo putting in sublime laps, miles ahead of any competition. But rest assured that we're already hard at work on changing the course of the 2023 season. I'm sorry for these results, but the future looks brighter down the back straight. If you're with us, let's go. Signed, Christian Horner, Red Bull Racing Team Principal. Bone, I gotta know your reaction to this.
Wow. I have not heard anything about this Red Bull letter to the fans, but it does sound like Red Bull. As we all know, they are currently trying to sandbag so that the FIA don't sanction them for being too dominant, but are having a hard time doing so clearly because they are so dominant. Do you think this is a real Red Bull letter to the fans? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe now so that I can see you back here very shortly for my Miami Grand preview, where I will give you everything you need to know before you watch this weekend's Miami Grand Prix. Special shout out to my top Patreon supporters, Kolky, @RatedBookie, and Glow. Until next time, folks, J-Bomb! J-Bomb!